Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. My name is Hazem Sharaf. I'm part of Microsoft Power CAT, which stands for Customer Advisory Team. And I have Ashley Rogers, Head of Power Apps and Automation from Takeda Pharmaceuticals. And I have also Rajesh from ABB, the Global Chief Digital Officer. I know that today marks the last day of Ignite session, so thank you for joining. I know everyone is excited to head back home and getting ready. Hopefully, we will share some useful insights with you and get you excited throughout this session. So over the past few days, you most likely have seen some captivating and wowing demos. And hopefully also you got inspired by many of the different scenarios that you have seen in business cases in the different sessions that you have attended. But what's unique about our session today in time is that we're going to be showcasing some unique success stories directly from Power Apps customers who managed to actually deploy and apply some strategies in their business. And sorry, this bridge is important. So ideally, we're going to be taking you from all the demos, cool demos world into real life applications. So let's start with a staggering prediction. By 2028, 1 new billion apps will be developed. Think about that for a moment. It's a huge number. However, the world is accelerating at a staggering rate where more and more apps are demanded, and innovation is also skyrocketing. But when you think about this and you think about the traditional method and platforms that are available today, they simply cannot keep up with the pace and demand for apps and innovation. The future is not only about number of apps, but it's also about smarter apps. And by 2026, 40% of new applications will have some intelligence in them, which basically means that they will be infused by some sort of AI. And that makes you think that AI is no longer a luxury, and it's actually going to be a core fundamental component of modern applications. How many of you are familiar with Power Platform? Used it, heard of it? OK, excellent. So for those of you who are not familiar with Power Platform is Microsoft low-code platform. And it's a game changer in the era of AI. And the reason for that is that it's transforming mainly who build apps and how apps get built, and also what is possibly could be built by using Power Platform. So by offering the intelligent apps, intelligent automation, and Copilot agents, anyone with a vision can really transform that vision and bring it into life much faster and more efficiently. So now, for those of you who are probably familiar with the platform, Microsoft Copilot is embedded across the different products. And that mainly allows developers to actually accelerate the delivery of their projects and also to achieve efficiency much faster. And this is also the case for end users, because Copilot is available during the authoring experience and also available for the end user experience. And based on the recent survey that we have performed, we found out that makers using Copilot are 65% more satisfied with the development experience. And even achieving simple tasks like creating an app from data sources could be achieved 80% much faster leveraging Copilot. And the odds of success for someone who's building an app from scratch or building some sort of automation leveraging Copilot are much higher in terms of completing the task whenever they leverage Copilot. So definitely the future is evolving with intelligent apps and with Copilot and automation. But let me give you a couple of examples, scenarios that you can actually probably think about how intelligent apps in the future and even today can work. So think about this scenario where you have a, let's say, customer service chatbot that spotted that there are certain issues are happening. Customers are asking questions. We just had the power outage in Seattle, and then I think it took 2 days to get any response back about like what's going on with the power, when it's going to come back. But imagine that your chatbot is actually able to spot that, and then it couldn't find any answer for the questions in its existing knowledge sources. So it decides to draft a knowledge article and then notifies the supervisor, a human in the loop, to review that and approve it. And once it's approved, it publishes this back into the knowledge source, and it also notifies the rest of your live agents that, hey, here is an ongoing issue that everyone should be aware of, and then this information and answer is available. Or think about the automation scenario where you have an intelligent automation that is actually just noticing that you keep doing the same manual task over and over, and it gives you a nudge to say, hey, I can automate this task for you. Here is the automation, and then it can free up your time to do something more important for you. You probably experience this also in your daily life, where you just, with Copilot or any of the other intelligent products that you're using today, drafting an email, drafting a document. But definitely, we will be spending less time creating and building and more time exploring and reviewing what AI is building for us. So today, we have more than 50,000 companies using Copilot Studio to build their own agents that are being used by more than 44 million end users. And we have customers like HP who build their own Copilot agent that is handling more than 1.7 million of the customer inquiries on a monthly basis. And customers like Rabobank managed to automate 50% of inbound call center so that it is currently handled by a Copilot agent. And last but not least, HSBC managed to reduce the loan origination time by half or by 50% using intelligent automation. So today, I have 2 customers with us that are going to be walking us through their Power Platform journey and share their success story with us. And they are also bringing unique perspective. Each are sharing their perspective from the relevant organization in their company. So we have Ashley more in the central IT part of the organization, and Rajesh much closer to the business side of the organization. And with that, I would like to welcome Ashley Rogers into the stage.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, and thank you, Hazem, for having me today. So my name is Ashley Rogers, and I am the head of the Apps and Automation platform team at Takeda Pharmaceuticals. A little bit about me before we get into the good stuff. I spent a lot of time as a developer and a consultant. I also spent 2 years as a BizApps MVP for Microsoft, focusing a lot of my time on lowering the barrier to entry for adoption for new users in the Power Platform space. And I've brought a lot of that passion with me through the years. That sort of niche of beginner content has always been where I'm really passionate. A little bit about Takeda Pharmaceuticals. It's a pharmaceutical company, a global company. And here's a portion of our mission statement. We're focused on better health for people, a brighter future for the world. And the biggest takeaway here is that last piece, our actions are based on patient, trust, reputation, and business in that priority order. All the decisions that we make, everything that we do at Takeda is with that in mind, the patient at the forefront. And that actually includes the technology decisions that we make. When we better empower our business partners within the company, that empowerment, that efficiency, the automation, it can flow through to the benefit of the patient. So as I came to Takeda in 2020, we saw that we had some enterprise challenges, things that I thought that the Power Platform would be very appropriate to start to go after, different challenges that I think that many of you may experience. And I'd love to go through some of those and talk about how the platform helped. So our first situation is the high cost of traditional solution development. All of us are familiar with this topic, right? When we have a pain point, we'd like to do some innovation, some process automation, and oftentimes stakeholders will start off with, great, let's go get a vendor, let's figure out if it's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, how much is this gonna cost me? And as we start to go through that conversation, often that will result in deprioritizing the innovation because it's too expensive, can't do it right now, can't focus on it, or a lower return on investment. And that lower return on investment, even if we do the development, happens because lengthy, expensive development results in having to do the process again once it changes 18 months from now, right? So we can spend the 18 months doing it, and now we have to do it again. Next, we often see problems identified with a very short lead time. A lot of folks will come to me and say, Ashley, I have this pain, and I need to fix it as of yesterday. Or, hey, you have 2 weeks, which is also very exciting. And when they come with that, if we don't have a development framework that's low code, quick, getting to market very fast, what ends up happening is we continue with the manual process. Well, we can't address it for you, it's too expensive, we don't have the budget, we can't find the SMEs, I guess we have to continue because that has to happen. And finally, there are many niche players in the low-code space. This is very confusing for our stakeholders. There's duplicate capabilities. Somebody had a conversation over here. Somebody had another conversation over there, creating confusion for the stakeholders who want to adopt low-code, because when do we choose what? So how did we get started? As I said, this journey really kind of began in 2020, really in earnest in 2021 for Takeda. And what we started with was Power Platform came as part of our licensing with Microsoft 365. And that's fantastic. That's great. It's a great start. The Power Apps and Power Automate tool set was owned by the Microsoft 365 team. I'd venture a guess that that happens a lot, and the folks who might be sitting in this room already experienced that or have had experience in the past with it. The governance for scalability and enterprise adoption for the platform did not exist. And this is not because the folks in the team didn't know something needed to happen, they certainly did. And it's not that they didn't have the capability to do so, if they didn't have the bandwidth. They were focusing on the few at that time, which is the right way to approach many of these things. But without a dedicated team, or at least one dedicated person, it's easy to neglect what you need to see towards that future. We did have an external team creating small team business applications, for less than 20 people, less than 50 people, and this was great. It was first come, first serve. And we use that model of first come, first serve in a portion of our delivery internally today. And finally, very key, there was no citizen development allowed at the time. I think this is really important because as we start to think of governance in the platform, that citizen development, what's actually missing? They help bring us forward. So the citizens you'll see are an important part of the story. Great, so let's talk about who we are today. So where we started, who we are today, and we're gonna go into some enterprise examples of applications after this. So who we are today, we're showing here on the screen a framework for everything inside of the Apps and Automation platform, not just how we govern and deal with the Power Platform as well. We have custom solution development. We follow this framework. We start with the platform and governance at the center. This is the key thing that you need to get right because everything else flows through from there. And we start from the top and we can go clockwise. Solution delivery was something that we started with immediately. It already existed for small teams, and we really leaned into that. You have a problem, we can solve it. Let's get you in the backlog. And from that goes to citizen training. Well, hey, I want to learn about that too. I don't want to sit in your backlog, Ashley. I want to take care of this and do it on my own because it's clearly self-service. Let's do that. Great. Then we leaned into consultation and office hours. Well, citizens have questions. They want to come talk to you. Maybe they don't know where to go for a resource. Let's set up office hours. Now we have support and ticketing. We use ServiceNow for that. And then we leaned into integrations and innovation, and that's where we are today. Getting that foundation correct, moving around the clock, and then that sets you up for the integration story with custom connectors, integrating with other third-party tools that are really important in your enterprise, and then leaning into innovation and moving fast. So let's talk about some of the enterprise applications that we have. I'll show 3 of them today. The first one here is called Play. Procurement, Legal, Ariba, and You. Play. We love this application because it is about self-service. How many times any of us have demand, we have an SOW, we have a change request, a quote we need to take a look at, and all of the information that goes into creating that quote, we're trying to make it really easy, very efficient for procurement to see what they need and help us get what we want quickly. So I use this all the time. I can go ahead and submit a new request, put in all my information, and it kicks off automated workflows using Power Automate behind the scenes. This is a Canvas app that was developed in 2019, and it's gone through at least 2 in-house redesigns. It manages over 5,000 items a year, which to me is very impressive. It makes us very efficient. The next one I'll share is the Rate Converter. Takeda is a global company. This means that budgeting happens annually, that I feel like we're always preparing for. That's something that we need to consider across the globe, the local currencies, all the different vendors that we collaborate with. And Rate Converter helps us to get out of emailing around the most recent rates or hoping that we have the latest SharePoint site where they're available. And instead, it's basically a calculator. I can put in what I need to spend, see everything in the currencies that I select, and it helps me, as someone who's not in finance, not make a mistake. And it helps my finance business partner always have a reliable calculator. They know exactly where the most current rates are. Finally, I'll share with you the MyAibo product. Aibo means partner in Japanese. Takeda is a Japanese company. MyAibo is a secure GenAI solution using Azure OpenAI and Microsoft Teams. This is a fully custom solution today that started as a Copilot Studio agent. This is a fantastic example of how we can create solutions for ourselves, starting quickly with the Power Platform, making sure that we show the return on investment, we bring the metrics to leadership, we can get the buy-in and engagement to move quickly because we were able to start quickly. With over 3 million activities since this was launched in 2023, this is one of the most widely adopted in-house built experiences at Takeda. We're very proud of it. So finally, some of the big numbers. What did we accomplish? What does all this look like? There have been over 50,000 cloud flows created at Takeda since we started using the platform, over 25,000 applications, and over 6,000 citizen developers. And I really want to focus on that 6,000 citizen developer number. That's 10% of our entire workforce. It's about 13% of our information workers. This means that we have people embedded in all areas of the business and not just global data, digital, and technology. We have partners embedded in the business who are passionate about automation, and my team did not make those 50,000 cloud flows. They did. That barrier to adoption is lowered. We're trying to empower those teams. And you can see here as well that they're global. It's a global team. Finally, I'd like to point out that we've qualified many aspects of the platform. For those of us who are in a regulated industry like Takeda is, it's very important because if we can't offer an auditable path, something that actually complies with GxP, with SOX, with other regulatory standards, then we're losing a major portion of our opportunities. All right. So how did we get here? As we round out this portion of my presentation, I want to share with you some strategic themes that I'd love for you to take away. The number one thing that I want you to leave with is that we did it, and it means that you can too. It is not that difficult when you project into the future for yourself. So the first thing I mentioned already once, you need a dedicated Power Platform team. And again, even if this means just one person is focused on the enterprise strategy, focused on understanding what that governance and adoption looks like, perfect. Dedicated team. Secondly, let's fail forward fast. Let's make sure we're trying new things, leaning into innovation, trying the new features when they come out to at least vet them and see where they fall on what we need. Make sure, though, that you start small and walk before you run as you're moving quickly. If you think you might need 35 people in a year, but you haven't hired 5 yet, let's start with 5. Next, be the example. We want to make sure that you're changing your own processes and demonstrating the art of the possible. Oftentimes, if you want that investment, you want the business leadership to say, yes, I believe in you, you need to start with an example. You can't wait for the rest of the business to come. You say, I'm going to change how we're doing this. And we're going to use this platform to do it. So change that, demonstrate the ROI, and bring that forward. Next, enable everyone that you can. Work closely with other teams. Always trying to say yes and every time we can. But if we can't say yes, we want to at least say no, but, right? Here's the option. Here's how I'm working with you. It never needs to be a flat no. Next, collaborate with experts. Something that we did at Takeda was really lean into the community. We leaned on Microsoft as well as a collaborative effort. We're looking at workshops. We're looking at all of the different types of events like this as much as we can, anything that's online, making sure we're speaking with people in the community who have done this before. We realize that not all of our needs are actually unique. The way that our problems may show up are different, but at the heart of them, if somebody has probably had the same pain that you have. If you're experiencing something and need to make a change, lean on the people who have come before. And finally, everyone at the company is your customer. Excellent interactions create trust, and that trust is at the heart of collaboration. So when you have that collaborative mindset, you try to build trust, trying to say yes and every time I can, you'll find that your customers internally help bring you forward as well. The last bit that I'll leave you with are some tactical things that you can start with immediately. Number one, the Power Platform Admin Center. I said governance was at the heart of starting the platform in general. And the Power Platform Admin Center is where we go to start that governance journey. The Environment Admin Dashboard. Every time you create an environment, there's an administrative dashboard attached to it. You can see who has access, who has what role. You can see the solutions that are being developed there as well. Next, the Center of Excellence Toolkit. I love this. We continue to extend it ourselves, but it was pretty great when we first implemented it without custom Power BI reports. But what's great about this is it'll help you baseline, and once you're ready, make your own reports that help to answer your niche questions from your customers. It's very insightful. And finally, use the Copilot in Power Platform. It has never been easier to lower that barrier to adoption than it is today. There's Copilot in Power Apps, Copilot in Power Automate, and boy, I wish that was available when I first started my journey. With that, thank you very much. That's my time.
Thank you, Ashley, for sharing your insights and Power Platform journey. So before I call by our next customer, I just want to also make sure that you pay attention to the patterns that you will see across the different journeys. And hopefully, as you plan to start your Power Platform journey, you will notice that there are certain steps or stages that most likely your organization will have to go through. So being a company with 140 years of history, while remaining innovative, required to embed innovation in your company and in your strategy. And I would like to invite Rajesh, the Global Chief Digital Officer of ABB, to tell us more about the innovation and ABB journey. Thank you, Rogers.
Thank you, Hazim. Hello, everyone. I know that this is the session that you want to see that as your session before you head back. That shows that how much you're interested in Power Platform as well. I'm really thrilled of this days in Ignite because the focus is brought on the data, security, AI, and the productivity, right? I'm going to share what we have been learning and using the Power Platform as part of our digital transformation. With me, my Power Platform Center of Excellence head, Mike, who has been working with me on this content. My role at ABB is driving the digital business. We have our industrial digital business. And I'm also responsible for driving the digital transformation initiatives within ABB using the AI. As Hazim mentioned, we have a long history. We have a huge global organization, 105,000 employees, clocking about 32 billion revenue. And we have more than 100 countries where we serve the customers across the different industry verticals. We are a global technology leader in electrification and automation and helping customers on more sustainable as well as resource efficient future for the world. And we call this as engineered to outrun, leaner and cleaner. One of the things very interesting about ABB is that we are operating as 4 business areas and 19 divisions. And we call this as ABB Way, which means that each of these industrial verticals can have the flexibility of the way they want to operate. So anything that you want to do it common, it needs to be clearly a value creation and governance, not as pushing down. Right? ABB and Microsoft, we have a strategic partnership for almost about 8 years now. In 2016 we started, and we use the Microsoft technologies along with our technologies and our domain expertise for creating productized solutions for solving some of the most complex problems in the industries. And we use the technology of Microsoft both for our own internal operational efficiency, including Microsoft 365, Power Platform, and whatnot. Also, we use the Azure Stack a lot for our own external facing or customer products and solutions that we create. And we're quite a bit on the industrial AI of bringing the AI into every product and solution we bring it in. Jumping on to the specifics of Power Platform, I'm sure that all this will be pretty straightforward and evident. The first and foremost is, as Ashley also mentioned, there are a lot of niche low-code platforms. The reason we chose the Microsoft Power Platform is, the first is, of course, it's a leading low-code platform, but it is ingrained into the Microsoft ecosystem. So it's pretty much for us, the security and compliance is coming natively. That's super important. The second thing is the way it is seamlessly integrated with rest of the applications, right? That's making it easier for us to retain the investments that we have done, but also very easy to deploy and scale the solutions on the native Azure. Very important is we have a plethora of different COTS solutions, right? Whether it could be a SAP or ServiceNow, all different solutions that we want to bring it in. So you need to have the ready-made connectors. The capability of having significant data connectivity is a key. And it's also important for us to use a platform that people are easily familiar and they can bring the productivity quickly. And last but not least is the cost efficiency, that we don't want to have a huge expensive developers to build the applications that you want to roll it out internally. You want a lot of functional users to also create applications on their own. I would say we had a very progressive journey in the last 6 years. And I'm sure that many of you also have a similar pattern, right? 2018, we just started looking at what it means for us, the Power Platform, Microsoft Power Platform. We started doing the experimentation. It's a small set of applications we are doing it. There was no governance. We were just trying it out as an experimentation. But about 3 years from there, 2021, we really took it serious. We brought the governance. We call it Governance 1.0. We defined the landscape. We defined the way that how we will have the technology support, how do we manage the life cycle of the applications which are getting developed, because it's not about just building the applications to support them to have the life cycle management. And also having a platform thought of saying that there should be a platform approach which building applications that can scale. And we focused both on applications, but also automating a lot of workflows that we had it in the business process side. I would say the big year is 2023. Last year, we built a ABB group-wide center of excellence for the Power Platform and started defining not just as a tactical, but a strategic initiative of really empowering the functional users as well as the developers to build applications very fast and using the low code capabilities. So here we also focused on bringing certain policy standards, architectural frameworks. Also we have in ABB something called as COPs we call. I'm sure you must be having something similar. So it's called as community of practices. So that's a way of actually introducing as well as accelerating any technologies. This is like-minded people come together, showcase what's happening, learnings are being shared on a bi-weekly basis. That has been very powerful for us to be able to grow on the adoption and also accelerating the productivity and bringing some of the very useful and highly ROI bringing applications. Today, it's a global scale. It's more than 20,000 applications. I would say roughly about 7,000 are very actively used, and some of them are also in the stage of getting it matured. The beauty is there are more than 1,500 different developers, or we call as makers, the application makers are developing this. It's not just one central IT team. It's about the people across the world are developing with the center of excellence guiding as well as bringing the governance. And we also formed the countrywide champion network. Mike did a lot of work, who is the center of excellence head. We have now a penetration of this capability across the countries that we serve and different locations. As you would imagine that the Copilot is seen as the UI for AI, it's going to bring a lot of productivity, and we see that also popping up very strongly in the Power Platform as well. We use Copilot capabilities and Azure OpenAI service even in our products like Genix as our platform, whereas Power Platform has been really bringing a lot of value now with Copilot. As Hazim was mentioned, a lot of thousands of applications are going to be built, and more application we should discover rather than building it when we use the AI. So we call this the phase of the acceleration and scale and seeing the real potential. Where we are today, one of the things I really love this graph, you can see that there's a steep increase, hockey stick increase that we see for the last 2 years. It also indicates in terms of certain richness and maturity of the Power Platform. Also we started seeing it in last 2 to 3 years. So close to about 20,000 applications, 65,000 automated workflows. Some of them are pretty complex workflows. We really stretched the platform to get them. We also got, as I said, 10,000 developers, and we see a significant amount of a user base today. One of the things that I believe is to share the knowledge, to share both technical and functional value across the community. We do that a lot in the community events. We have quarterly accelerators, we call ABB accelerators, where we bring a lot of opportunity for people to innovate. That has brought extremely good value of bringing significant business value driven applications, not just for the sake of building applications. Right? The key operating model that we have is straightforward, as you see in the right side. At a high, on a top, at a ABB group level, we have a global center of excellence. So that's fundamentally where we are keeping ourselves ahead of the curve in terms of the technology, in terms of the platform capabilities, in terms of building the blueprints, in terms of defining how do you want to build the applications, bringing standards. And the second level, here is where we build the enterprise level applications. I will show some of the examples. The second thing is I mentioned about the 4 business areas. At each of the business areas also we replicated the COE concept, wherein it is meant for supporting, building and supporting and maintaining the applications, keeping the development and production separate so that you have the strong governance on the SLAs. More importantly, a lot of reviews and security and compliance of the applications, and have a pipeline-based deployment models and so on, right? And we give this applications have a premium license to have the right level of SLAs met. The third level, I am sure that you will also, the way that you start is bringing the flexibility and just with certain guardrails, allow anyone to innovate. A simple application maybe was just for 100 users, but it gets replicated once you bring it to the COP or the community of practices. And this is, we keep still the guardrails, what not to do, but what to do is left to the people they want to do, right? And we are pretty much on the E5 license, and some of you, I'm sure that's still on the E3s here as well. So I'm going to go through just 3 set of examples to also give an idea of the different characteristics of the Power Platform that we were able to really leverage and test it as well and stretch it as well, right? First is enterprise-wide applications, serving some of the key business services, right? Typically, you will solve it either buying a COTS product or an ERP kind of a solution, but we were able to build these solutions on Power Platform, bringing also intelligence analytics along with the transactional workflow automations, right? The first one is straightforward. I picked up the examples which is easy for you to relate it. There are quite a lot of examples here. And this is something everybody wants to know, right? The annual salary reviews. We of course have an SAP. We are also looking at the HR side and the workdays to go. But if you see, we wanted always as managers, me as running an organization for digital business, I always want to see quite a lot of business intelligence when we are doing the performance review along with the information or the transactional information workflows. We rolled it out last year. It's one single source of truth for the entire ASR process or annual salary review process. I would say that the beauty here is that the fusion of the functional specialist, the business divisions, as well as the developers, all the 3 came together of building this one. It was done in a very short time. We are amazed with the kind of the value it was able to create. And you could see that it's time tested for more than 60,000 employees. Right? Second one is a cute one, right? Typically, you go and see that when you go to a company where you go to the admin departments, they say that we want this application quick to build it and standardize it. We are able to build this, and more importantly, also bring a lot of capabilities such as your QR code integration. You are able to bring your GDPR policies to be put in, or able to bring the plugins to be able to make it along with the Power Platform capability. Let me move to the next bucket. And you will see that this is where your business divisions, typically not the central IT organization, they would like to develop applications, or they might want to possibly give it to the external vendor to develop it, right? So these are all used both in our own manufacturing plants, because ABB has more than 100 manufacturing plants, and running the digital operations business as well, which I mentioned. The first one I'm closer to my heart is this operational excellence, because this is for one of the business area called process automation, where we deliver some of the most innovative integrated systems, automation and digitalization systems to our customers. And we would like to track this operational excellence initiatives across the process life cycle, project life cycle, starting from what is your original gross margin and EBITDA levels to how are you achieving for your project contribution margin at the end. So we are able to track this using the Power Platform tool. Has a significant amount of the master data creation with the Snowflake integration, and it's being used across a large amount of users, and we see a significant increase in terms of the initiatives bringing value. This one is very closer to my heart, which is the digital performance management. So we run closer to $1 billion digital industrial digital business of running its financial, its productization, our sales KPI, as well as the quality of revenues, and even the product line level performance. We run it using the application built on the Power Platform. You can imagine that you need a significant amount of analytics, drill downs, slicing and dicing to be done. It was built again in a very rapid scale, and it's a core of how do we bring the single source of truth, connecting various different systems. We have the SAP system, Salesforce system, ServiceNow system, as well as our product catalogs and so on. So pretty powerful. I use it every day. The third category, or the last category, is how do you bring the innovation of digital transformation solutions for specific purposes, right? And making it to, I call it as shop floor, bringing it to the shop floor. You know that typically in a factory, when you are going to bring the products, you need to have the quality and supply chain, and you need to certify. You build a nice application, it's built one of the factory team, which is using this in terms of how do you manage your hardware products which are going through a certification management. Pretty cool application, using the master data integration with Snowflake, but also having a very strong model-driven UI. The last one, you don't complete it without a Copilot initiative. So we have been having a very strong Copilot introduced in the Power Platform now. One of the things I really liked is that in a manufacturing plant, when they are looking at taking a specific order, a person who is reading the specification typically takes about 3 to 4 hours for getting the information. Today it is reduced to 20 minutes. So significant productivity increase, as well as not losing any possibility of error. And there's a lot of places it's being used. You can see that in the procurement process and so on. It's pretty cool. Oh, so where are we going to go further, right? So 4 different dimensions. Number one is more AI capabilities. That's going to increase our consumer journey and accelerating that, because it's not only a low code with the Copilot of AI. That's going to make it a lot more productive. Automation is going to be increased a lot with our Copilot agents. So we enabled our users to also with the Copilot Studio. So you could now create more low-code applications along with Copilot agents. It's going to make a lot more easier to automate a lot of processes, both multi-node as well as single-node Copilot agents as well. And we have been continuously bringing our people, upskilling it to drive the agility and the speed at which we are able to consume. And of course, we want to pretty much get rid of any legacy process. As Ashley mentioned, if you don't bring it faster, then manual process will still remain. Want to get rid of any legacy processes available and bring a lot of new use cases. Okay. So with that, I will hand over again to Hazim. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. I will be available for questions.
Thanks a lot. So I think you all have been a great audience, and I want to leave you with some additional resources for you. So if you're looking to actually learn more about, either read or watch more success stories about Power Platform, you can go to AKA MS Power Platform Stories or AKA Power Platform Videos. And we also have a framework so that if you're trying to ramp up your organization, prepare for Power Platform adoption in your organization, we have a body of work and framework. If you're familiar with Azure well-architected, there is now Power Platform well-architected as well. You find it in AKA MS Bar and Power Platform adoption as well, to see if you're interested in adapting this framework in your organization. And last but not least, we have now a beta version of the Power Platform upskilling program for enterprises. You can find more details visiting the, either scanning the QR code, but this is mainly about ramping up your entire organization and scaling up everyone, so taking them through the entire learning journey of Power Platform. And we provide you with all the resources, including even the management system, dashboards, everything that you need in your organization. So with that, hopefully you're more excited and inspired by Power Platform. And I would like to thank again Rajesh and Ashley for joining me today. And thank you for listening in. I think we have 30 seconds. If anyone has questions, maybe for Rajesh or Ashley, not me. We have mics here. Good. So Seems that no one has any questions. Thank you again, everyone, and safe travel. Thank you.